So you will hear me with my countdown right now in 5, 3. This is Strange Occurrences, Abnormal Tales with a Gen X Twist. I'm your host, Rose Stone, also known as the Gothic Rose on TikTok, where you can follow me. And this is live 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday. And you can, of course, catch up on all of these live episodes on Spotify and YouTube. And there is usually a pre-recorded episode outside of this live. Also, I now have an email address, which is strangeoccurrencesthepodcast@gmail.com. So if you have a creepy story of your own that you would like to email me, something about your town or your state that's very famous, something that happened to you, something you found on Reddit, go ahead and email me at strangeoccurrencesthepodcast@gmail.com. And you must be 21 or over if you want to be a guest on the podcast. But if you want to email me and not be on the podcast at all, just share the story with me, I will be sure to give you a shout out for it. And tonight's shout out goes to Moni, who kind of manifested this whole thing. I had been thinking about this particular subject for a really long time, and since it's officially spooky season, it is just that's what it is. September is now part of spooky season. That's my belief. So now that it is, I am going to share with you the story of the Jersey Devil, or the Leeds Devil. So you guys follow hockey, you might know the New Jersey hockey team, the Jersey Devils, and that pays homage to this particular urban legend, folklore, that I was told in a comment talking about this whole subject, that in New Jersey on Halloween hayrides, they always talk about the Jersey Devil. So the folklore around it is pretty interesting. The story begins in the year 1735. So this is when the area of South Jersey was also called the Pine Barrens. And South Jersey is very interesting because you can find swamp and pine barren forests, or you can find the beautiful Jersey Shore. There's a lot in New Jersey. It's an incredibly beautiful state if you've never been there. And they pump your gas for you. So shout out to Jersey for pumping the gas for us. But this story is incredible because it revolves around the Leeds family. So it takes place in not just South Jersey, but also the Philadelphia area. They're neighbors. It's right there. So the South Jersey, Philadelphia folklore, the Jersey Devil, also known as the Leeds Devil, is a legendary creature said to inhabit the forests of the Pine Barrens in South Jersey. The creature is often described, and this is just so odd, but as a flying biped with hooves, but there are many variations. The common description is that of a bipedal kangaroo-like creature with a horse or goat head, leathery bat-like wings, horns, small arms with clawed hands, legs with cloven hooves, and a forked or pointed tail. So this is very descriptive, and it is said to have a strange elongated body and a thick tail. It has been reported to move quickly and is often described as emitting a high-pitched, blood-curdling scream. Now, part of me thinks that since this took place in 1735, and there are photographs, I don't know if they're real photographs or not, so you guys can fact check me on this, and I will fact check myself, but that there was like Civil War soldiers posing with what looked like a pterodactyl. And, there's always like rumors that, like, the Loch Ness Monster could be something prehistoric. So what they're describing maybe could have been like a pterodactyl. Let's just try to throw in, a little, I guess, logic to the myth. I don't know if that is or not, but maybe it is. So let's say maybe they saw a pterodactyl and they thought, it was a demon. It does make sense. High pitched, blood curdling scream, large wings, leathery bat like wings, horns. And I mean, you know, you never know. It could have just been something that survived, or it could be what this legend is. So, the origins of this legend is the Pine Barrens had these residents named the Leeds. They were among the first settlers in that area of New Jersey. The mother was Jane Leeds, and she was known as Mother Leeds. So, the legend states that she had 12 children, which is a lot by any means and measure, I think. But she found out that she was pregnant for the 13th time. And she was not happy about this. She cursed this child out of her frustration for being pregnant the 13th time, declaring that this child would be the devil. So, in the year 1735, Mother Leeds went into labor on a very, very stormy night. Like, it was a dark and stormy night when this creature was birthed. So she had her friends gathered around her, and the child was born perfectly normal. The birth went fine, everything was fine. However, soon after the child was born, it transformed into this creature with hooves and a goat head and bat wings and a forked tail, and it was growling and it was screaming, and it took its tail and just, beat everyone with it around the room. And supposedly within this legend, it unalived Mother Leeds, and Father Leeds, with the other 12 children, heard all of this commotion in the next room, and they were hovering together in fear. And this demon unalived many of them as well, and maimed others. So this was like, obviously terrifying to these people. And the goat creature stormed up the chimney and apparently went through this chimney with such force that the chimney broke apart into lots of pieces, and the house was destroyed, and whoever survived was gone. So the other part of this legend was that Mother Leeds happened to be a witch, and Father Leeds was the devil himself. This is very interesting. So there's another version that states that local clergymen attempted to exorcise the creature from the Pine Barrens, and they were unsuccessful. So prior to the 1900s, so the 20th century, when we grew up, the Jersey Devil was called the Leeds Devil in connection with the local Leeds family or Leeds Point in South Jersey. So there are two options. I think that it's the Leeds family. And it's said that she was Jane, but other people have identified Mother Leeds as being Deborah Leeds. So there's a lot of different folklore and everything around this whole Leeds family. But the one thing that everyone agrees on is this was her 13th child. So Japhet was the husband and Deborah was the wife, and they actually found proof of this because Japhet Leeds named his 12 children in the will that he wrote in the year 1736. So that is compatible with the legend. Maybe they just called her Jane, like Jane Doe. Maybe that's where that comes from, to protect her identity, because they didn't want anyone to really know, except they named it the Leeds Devil. So that kind of throws my theory right out the window, debunk my own theory there. No big deal. Moving on. So they lived in Leeds Point, which is Atlantic County, which is where you can probably, I think that's where Atlantic City is. If you've never been to Atlantic City, you got to go. So that's the Jersey Devil story. Now, this goes on to say that a historian of science, Brian Regal at Keene University, theorizes that the story of Mother Leeds, rather than being based on a single historical person alone, originated from the reputation of the local prominent Leeds family in the southern portion of the colonial era province of New Jersey, where religious political disputes became the subject of folklore and gossip among the local population. Regal contends that folk legends concerning these historical disputes evolved through the years and ultimately resulted in the modern popular legend of the Jersey Devil during the early 20th century. Interesting theory here. Are we debunking this Jersey Devil folklore? So it's really interesting because, let's see, Regal contends that colonial era political intrigue involving early New Jersey politicians Benjamin Franklin and Franklin's rival almanac publisher against Christianity. And I find it really interesting because if you go back to the Salem witch trials, that became about land, property, ownership disputes and things like that. And people were unalived because of it. So it's really, really interesting to think that this folklore of the Jersey Devil, who may or may not have been seen and could have been a pterodactyl that survived prehistoric times, like I theorized earlier, and that's what people saw and heard, this legend that came from Benjamin Franklin. Or it could be that this is completely true. So this is really interesting because starting in the 17th century, English Quakers established settlements in southern Jersey in the regions in which the Pine Barrens are located. Daniel Leeds, a Quaker and a prominent person of pre-Revolution colonial southern New Jersey, became ostracized by his Quaker congregation after his 1687 publication of almanacs containing astrological symbols and writings. And if you go back to the Salem witch trials, you will remember that Tituba was teaching the girls how to read things like tea leaves and make puppets and do things that they considered to be witchcraft. So this again was going against, it was their Christian beliefs. It was pagan. So Leeds' fellow Quakers deemed the astrologies in this almanac pagan or blasphemous, and the almanacs were censored and destroyed by the local Quaker community. So it's really interesting because their name is associated with something terrifying to many people, but it turns out that now one of the Leeds used what they considered to be pagan symbols in an almanac. So in response to it, and in spite of the censorship, Leeds continued to publish even more esoteric astrological Christian writings and became increasingly fascinated with Christian occultism, mysticism, cosmology, demonology, angelology, and natural magic. And in the 1690s, after his almanacs and writings were further censored as blasphemous or heretical by the Philadelphia Quaker meeting, Leeds continued to dispute with the Quaker community, converting to Anglicanism and publishing anti-Quaker tracts, criticizing Quaker theology and accusing Quakers of being anti-monarchists. So this is really interesting. So the ensuing dispute between Leeds and the Southern New Jersey Quaker over Leeds' accusations was endorsed by the much maligned British royal governor of New Jersey, Lord Cornbury, despised among the Quaker communities. Leeds also worked as a counselor to Lord Cornbury at the time, and they considered Leeds a traitor for aiding the crown and rejecting Quaker beliefs. The Quaker Burlington meeting of Southern New Jersey subsequently dismissed Leeds as evil. In 1700, the local South Jersey Quaker community retaliated against Leeds' anti-Quaker tracts with their own tract, Satan's Harbinger Encountered, being something by way of answer to Daniel Leeds, which publicly accused Leeds of working for the devil. So this piece of information right here is so incredibly interesting. So in 1716, Daniel Leeds' son, Titan Leeds, inherited his father's almanac business. By the way, Titan's a great name, which continued to use astrological content and eventually competed with Benjamin Franklin's popular Poor Richard's Almanac. The competition between the two men intensified when during 1733, Franklin satirically used astrology in his almanac to predict Titan Leeds' unaliving on October of that same year. Though Franklin's prediction was intended as a joke at his competitor's expense and means to boost almanac sale, Titan Leeds was apparently offended by this prediction, publishing a public admonition of Franklin as a fool and a liar. In a published response, Franklin mocked Titan Leeds' outrage and humorously suggested that, in fact, Titan Leeds had passed on in accordance with the earlier prediction and was thus writing his almanacs as a ghost, resurrected from the grave to haunt and torment Franklin. And Franklin continued to jokingly refer to Titan Leeds as a ghost even after his actual passing in the year 1738. So Daniel Leeds' blasphemous and occultist reputation and his pro-monarchy stance in the largely anti-monarchist colonial South of New Jersey, combined with Benjamin Franklin's later continuous depiction of his son Titan Leeds as a ghost, may have originated or contributed to the folk legend of the Leeds or Jersey Devil lurking in the Pine Barrens. So what do you guys think of that? Do you think that this whole Jersey Devil folklore came from Benjamin Franklin? Imagine that. One of our forefathers. Amazing. So this is really amazing. And I'm just going to check out right now, just live dive with me for a second, people who have seen the Jersey Devil. Let's check this out. and we'll see how many people have found this creature, and let's see if they are believable or not. All right. So the website is newjersey.com, and it says 13 times the Jersey Devil has been spotted in the Garden State. Okay, let's check it out. Sometimes when I look up paranormal things, my computer does weird things. So 1735 is when it begins, and they call her Jane on this website, Mother Leeds, and they're talking about her saying what she said, that this child will be the devil. And then there is the sketch from 1909 in the Philadelphia Bulletin, where you see this sort of body of a horse. This one looks more like a horse to me. And it's got the pointed tail. It's got bat wings, a long neck, and this kind of looks like a horse or a donkey head. And it's very strange looking, really weird. So let's see. One of the first reported Jersey Devil sightings was in 1812 when Joseph Bonaparte, Napoleon's older brother, this is getting interesting, claimed he saw the Jersey Devil while hunting near his Bordentown estate. Sightings occurred and the legend grew, fueled by animal attacks, strange footprints, and reports filed by eyewitnesses who supposedly encountered the beast. And there is an article here all about it. So, the Devil Craze of 1909, and this is a Trenton Times story on a string of Jersey Devil sightings in January of 1909. So, a string of them all at one time. The Jersey Devil's fame solidified itself in January of 1909 when nearly 1,000 reports came in from eyewitnesses throughout South Jersey. While testing cannonballs at Hanover Mills Works in the Pine Barrens, Navy Commander Stephen Decatur reportedly saw the creature and pew-pewed at it. Talk about target practice. The cannonball put a hole in the Jersey Devil, but the Jersey Devil was not fazed by this at all. It just projectile went through it, didn't faze it, nothing. Strange tracks were found in the fields, but there were bloodhounds brought in, and they allegedly refused to follow the tracks. The kids were fine with it because they closed the Pine Barrens schools. So that was how seriously they took this 1,000 people seeing this creature. Now, we've got a Salem cab attack in 1927. The Jersey Devil fad died out for a while until 1927, when a taxi driver in Salem City allegedly encountered it while changing a tire. The man told the police that a winged creature was pounding on the roof of the cab. And then it goes on to say, I guess the Jersey Devil really needed a ride that night. Cute pun. They have a wanted poster. $250,000 reward in 1960 for someone to capture this creature. So several residents of Mays Landing heard horrifying screams in the night. There was no explanation for the noises, and people began to panic. Police hung flyers assuring residents that the Jersey Devil was a hoax, but a circus owner countered the appeal by offering a $100,000 reward for anyone who could capture the creature, and obviously no one ever received this award. which makes sense because I don't think you'd be able to capture this thing. And then it says Devil in the Roadway. Mary Ritzer Christensen told Weird New Jersey, that's a great magazine, Weird New Jersey, and they're on Paranormal Caught on Camera a lot talking, so check them out. So Weird New Jersey, that she got the heebie-jeebies one night in 1972 when she spotted the Jersey Devil on Green Tree Road. Christensen was driving from Blackwood to Glassboro when she said she saw a towering figure crossing the road about 25 feet behind her car. She described the figure as standing taller than the average man with thick hunches and looked like a goat with a huge woolly head. So it's really interesting because there are sightings, so something out there exists. Now, this is about mysterious unalivings. Forest rangers are expert on the wildlife that inhabits the woods they patrol. But in 1980, Wharton State Forest Chief Ranger Alan McFarlane saw something that both grossed him out and stumped his wild animal knowledge. A brutal scene on a South Jersey farm where a pack of pigs had been unalived. He reported that the backs of their heads were eaten and they were all scratched and torn. However, there were no tracks surrounding the bodies and nothing was like on the ground, nothing was disturbed. So they never found out what unalived these pigs. Now, this one's about Asbury Park. In 1988, Asbury Park press reporter told the story of a Howell Township resident who claimed to have encountered the Jersey Devil 7 years prior. So this is the early 80s now, this one. This eyewitness must have been up close and personal with the old JD, they call it, because he described the beast right down to its large teeth. Interesting. Now, the Jersey Devil was actually a subject of the TV show The X-Files back in the day, so I don't know if anyone remembers that X-Files show. So, Dirt Bike and the Devil. In the late 1980s, a group of friends went camping and riding dirt bikes in the Pine Barrens. While riding down a trail about 100 yards from camp, the bikes all stalled. One could say it had to do with the terrain or the nearby power plant. However, as suddenly as the bikes quit running, the men heard a piercing, inhuman scream coming from the woods. When they returned to camp, those who stayed behind said they also heard the screams. That evening, one of the men went into a local bar and told the bartender about the screams in the woods. The man informed the visitor he had most likely had an encounter with the Jersey Devil. So, this one is questioning whether they saw it or not. This takes place in 1993. Another forest ranger, John Irwin, was driving along the Mullica River when he saw a strange creature blocking the road ahead of him. He said it was about 6 feet tall with horns and matted black fur. The two stared at each other for several minutes before the creature turned and ran into the forest. And it's true, people that spend a lot of time in the woods, forest rangers, people that hunt, people that just like hiking and doing things in the woods, if you are in the same place all the time, you know what you're looking for. And I was just up in my woods today. You guys can check that out on my TikTok. So this is Smithville Surprise. Let's see. One evening while taking out the trash, Fran Capallo, owner of the Smithville Inn Village in Galloway Township, saw a strange shadow projected onto the wall before her. She said she looked up and saw the shadow of a beast with wings. While the image had to be frightening, Capallo said she felt calm as if the Jersey Devil was watching over her. Really interesting how some people can be terrified and other people, no problems whatsoever. Now, this one is 10 feet tall and stopping traffic. While traveling on Route 9 in Bayville, 3 cars were forced to slam on their brakes when, according to one witness, a 10-foot tall Jersey Devil figure with a long head and short, flat ears raced across the road. One witness reported the creature emerged from a wooded area near a mini mall and galloped out in front of traffic, disappearing into the woods on the other side of the street. Maybe the beast had just gotten a devil of a deal on his favorite boutique. Very, very funny, pun intended. But there is a photo of someone named Dave Black of Little Egg Harbor capturing a photo in Galloway Township, and he believes it could be the Jersey Devil. And this thing is weird. So it's got like hooves. It looks like a small goat with horns on its head and dark wings like a bat, but big, big bat wings. Wow. So now we've got one that says llama or devil. One of the most recent sightings occurred in Galloway Township, popular place for this thing, in October of 2015. So this is the picture I was talking about. Little Egg Harbor resident Dave Black said he was driving along Route 9 near a golf course when he saw what he thought was a llama walking in and out of the tree line on the side of the road, and suddenly the creature spread its wings and flew away. And this photo was viral, apparently. He just snapped a picture with his cell phone. At least he got a picture, because sometimes when I try to get a picture, it never works out quickly. So he had great timing. And this one is flying off into the sunset a few days after David Black supposedly captured the Jersey Devil with his cell phone's camera. Emily Martin shot a video of what appears to be the same creature after she spotted it on Old Port Republic Road near Leeds Point. Both Black and Martin swear neither the image nor the video were edited to set it up. And the picture, I don't know how you could edit that picture, but this is, there's now New Jersey YouTube video of this flying creature. Oh my God. So it must have been high up, and you could see it looks like a goat horse with wings, and it flew past. It didn't look, like so big. It didn't look like the size of what a pterodactyl would be. It looked like the size of a goat, but it flew over her head, and I've never seen anything like that before. So who knows? Does anyone out there know anything about what it could be besides the possible 13th child of a woman who gave birth in 1735? Because here's my thing, right? If that were true, and this baby turned into a creature and unalived everybody and did all of these things, there was only one of it. 1735 was almost 300 years ago. So there was not a second Jersey Devil creature. We don't know if it was male or female, this Jersey Devil, but we know that it takes one of each to procreate. So it's either, 300 years old, flying around, or it somehow made babies. But it couldn't have, because there was only one of him. So I'm just throwing this out there because this is where my mind goes when I think about all of these things. So, yeah. So I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Do you believe in the myth and the legend? Or do you believe that Benjamin Franklin, who had a lot of power, a lot of control over things, had something to do with the Leeds family being looked at as heretics and pagans. And clearly there was hatred there before, before he even got this chance to say something about the Leeds. So let's look up Leeds and Ben Franklin live dive. So this is NewJersey.com, the forgotten political fuel that spawned the Jersey Devil. And this is an opinion piece, NewJersey.com. How Stuff Works, how Ben Franklin helped ignite the Jersey Devil hysteria. All right, let's check this out. So 1982, the National Hockey League landed in New Jersey. A Denver-based team, the hapless Colorado Rockies, had been purchased by new ownership and relocated to the Garden State at a cost of roughly $32 million. Interesting that they're giving us the history of the Jersey Devils hockey team. So the Rockies were, get this, named after the Rocky Mountain Range, which lies more than 1,800 miles or 2,896 kilometers west of New Jersey. So they renamed the team, and a statewide Name the Team contest drew in more than 10,000 votes. And some of the more popular names included the New Jersey Gulls and the New Jersey Meadowlanders. And I did tell you guys in a TikTok why Meadow Soprano was named Meadow. She was allegedly fictionally conceived at the Meadowlands, but they wanted the Jersey Devils because it sounded more fierce, more sinister, they felt. So this is paying homage to the local folklore. That's really interesting. So this is, let's see, it's the Pine Barrens. It's a place near Leeds Point, an outdoorsman's paradise with winding trails, campgrounds, rustic blueberries farm, and they say their own answer to Bigfoot. So this is pretty interesting, but it's not telling me what happened. Okay, so here we go. Details of the feud are explored in Brian Regal and Frank J. Esposito's 2018 book. So book talkers, check this out. If you love American history and folklore, this is right up your alley. The Secret History of the Jersey Devil. How Quakers, hucksters, and Benjamin Franklin created a monster. So this is interesting. It's just like, seems like it was political slander. Oh, Ben Franklin. Franklin's clever statements about Leeds were, in reality, an attempt to discredit his almanac competitor by linking him to Satan, and this is a direct quote from the book. In that age, it was not unusual to paint one's enemies as stargazing agents of the devil, like I said earlier. The fact that Leeds promoted a belief in astrology in his popular almanac made him perfect fodder for the clever Franklin. So, it is entirely possible that a creature exists and Ben Franklin made up the Jersey Devil, but they took that name and attached it to this very strange creature in New Jersey. I don't know. What do you guys think? This has been a really, really interesting story, and I'm going to look further into it on my pre-recorded podcast. You will be able to find this live and the pre-recorded podcast up later this week on YouTube and Spotify. So if you enjoyed this, give me some hearts, give it a like on Spotify, give it a like on YouTube, add a comment, answer the poll, all of that. And if you have your own spooky story you'd like to share with me, email Strange Occurrences, the podcast, at gmail.com. Thanks, you guys, for a great night. Love, peace, and hair grease.